Obinna wiped his face as he sat under the shade of his shop in Enugu Market where he sells spare parts. The sun was very hot that afternoon, but he was used to the heat. His belly protruded against his shirt, and a cold bottle of soda was in his hands. It was his third bottle that day, but Obinna didn't care. He was successful after all. His business was thriving, his pockets were full, and he believed he had every right to indulge, even in this hot weather. "Beer, Ada, leave me, oh," he would often say to his wife when she gently reminded him about his health. "I work hard, and I deserve to enjoy the fruits of my labor." Ada, his soft-spoken wife, would shake her head in frustration. She knew how much her husband loved his fried foods, beer, and sugary drinks, but recently she had noticed troubling changes. Obinna's energy had dropped drastically in bed, and every night he was up multiple times, either to drink water or to rush to the bathroom. His feet, once strong and agile, now seemed to swell and lose feelings at times. "Obinna, this is not normal," Ada said one night as they prepared for bed. "You are always thirsty, and you are losing weight despite eating more than ever. You need to see a doctor." Obinna, who had just finished a large plate of fried yam and pepper sauce, waved her off. "Ada, it is the weather. It's been too hot lately. Don't worry about me, Wanyi. I'm fine." But Ada wasn't convinced, and deep down, neither was Obinna. As much as he tried to ignore the signs, he knew something was wrong. His hand trembled sometimes, and his vision would blur for no apparent reason. Even his work in the shop became a burden. The fatigue was overwhelming, but Obinna, stubborn as ever, refused to admit that he might need help. It was a typical day at the market. Obinna was in the middle of negotiating with a customer, sweat dripping down his face despite the shade overhead. He felt lightheaded, but he ignored it, focusing instead on closing the deal. Just as he handed over the spare parts to the customer, his vision blurred, and a wave of dizziness hit him so hard that the world around him tilted. "Oga Obinna, you dey okay?" the customer asked, looking very concerned. Obinna tried to respond, but the words stuck in his throat. His heart was beating very fast, faster than it had ever beaten before. His legs gave way under him, and he collapsed onto the ground with a loud thud. The market erupted in chaos as people rushed to his side. "Somebody, call his wife! Get help!" a man shouted. His shop attendant, shaking with fear, dialed Ada's number. Madam, Oga has collapsed. We are taking him to the hospital." At that moment, Obinna's world went dark. Everything around him faded into silence as he slipped into unconsciousness. By the time Ada arrived at the hospital, Obinna was already in the hospital bed, an oxygen mask covering his face and an IV drip of saline attached to his arm. Her heart raced as she approached the doctor, who stood reviewing her husband's chart. "Doctor, what's wrong with my husband?" Ada asked, her voice trembling. The doctor glanced at her sympathetically. "Your husband's condition is critical, Mrs. Obinna. He suffered a diabetic shock. His blood sugar levels are dangerously high. How long has he been showing symptoms?" Ada's mind raced. Diabetes? She has never considered that possibility. "He's been tired and thirsty for weeks. but we thought it was just stress. We even treated him for malaria a few days ago, but it didn't work." The doctor nodded. Many people mistake the early symptoms of diabetes for other illnesses, especially in this part of the world. Unfortunately, untreated diabetes can lead to severe complications. Your husband is lucky to be alive." The words hit Ada like a ton of bricks. She had noticed the changes but had never imagined it could be something this serious. Tears welled up in her eyes as she sat beside Obinna's bed, watching his chest rise and fall with each labored breath. After what felt like hours, Obinna stirred. His eyelid fluttered opened, and he looked around the sterile hospital room, looking confused. "Ada, where am I?" His voice very weak. "You collapsed at the shop, Obinna. The doctor says you have diabetes," Ada explained, struggling to keep her voice steady. "Diabetes, kwa?" Obinna repeated, the words foreign and frightening. He had heard of the disease, but never thought it could happen to him. "I thought it was malaria." At this point, the doctor re-entered the room, looking very serious. "Mr. Obinna, you have type 2 diabetes. Your blood sugar levels are dangerously high, and it's because of your lifestyle. The way you've been eating and living has led to this. We need to make drastic changes if you want to get better." Obinna's chest tightened. He had always prided himself on his strength, his ability to endure whatever life threw at him. But now he felt powerless. The doctor's words washed over him like a wave, and for the first time in years, Obinna thought about his children, his wife, and how he could have died, and he felt truly afraid. The weeks that followed were the most difficult Obinna had ever faced. The hospital stay was grueling, but the real battle began once he returned home. The doctor had prescribed a strict regimen of medication and insulin, but what scared Obinna the most were the lifestyle changes he was forced to make. Ada had taken full control of the kitchen, banishing all fried foods, sugary sodas, and processed snacks that Obinna had once loved. In their place were vegetables, grilled chicken, porridge oats, and other wholemeal foods. The first time Ada served a plate of boiled plantain and steamed spinach and grilled fish, Obinna stared at it in disbelief. "Is this what I am supposed to eat now? For how long?" he asked, pushing the plate away. Ada crossed her arms. "For as long as you want to stay alive. The doctor said you need to lose weight and control your blood sugar, and this is the only way to do it." Obinna groaned. He had always loved food, the rich, oily kind that filled him up and made him feel like a king. Now every meal felt like a punishment. He missed the fatty part of suya, the fried yam, the pepper soup with thick chunks of beef. To make matters worse, Ada insisted that he start walking. Every morning, she would wake him before dawn and force him to take a walk around the neighborhood. "Exercise will help regulate your blood sugar, Obinna," she said, pulling him out of bed one particular cold morning. "Come on, let's go." At first, Obinna resisted. His feet ached and his muscles felt weak, but Ada was relentless. Slowly, day by day, the walks became longer and Obinna found himself adjusting to the new routine. The fresh air and quiet of the early morning were a welcome escape from the suffocating weight of his diagnosis. But still, the progress was slow, and Obinna struggled with his new reality. His friends at the market teased him about his weight loss and his new rabbit food diet. He felt ashamed, even embarrassed, that his once vigorous body had betrayed him. One day, while working with Ada, Obinna noticed a gym nearby. Inside, people of all shapes and sizes were lifting weights, running on treadmills, and moving with energy he hadn't felt in years. Something stirred in Obinna as he watched them. Maybe it was his desire to reclaim control over his life, or the embarrassment of feeling weak. But for the first time, he felt a spark of determination. "Ada," he said, stopping in his tracks, "I think I want to try that." "Try what?" Ada asked, looking confused. "The gym," Obinna replied, nodding towards the building. "I need to push myself harder." Ada's eyes widened in surprise but quickly softened. "Are you sure, Obinna?" Obinna nodded. "I am tired of feeling this way. I want to spend a long time on this earth. I want to watch my children grow. And I certainly do not want another man near you. If I'm going to change, I need to do it right." The next day, they signed him up at the gym. Obinna started slow, under the guidance of a young trainer named Chike. At first, even the simplest exercises left him breathless. The weights felt impossibly heavy, and his muscles ached after every session. There were days when he wanted to give up, when he felt like his body had reached its limit. But Chike, his gym instructor, pushed him, and Ada was always there with words of encouragement. Slowly but surely, Obinna's strength returned. His once swollen feet grew stronger, and his body, though still battling the effect of diabetes, began to heal. Months passed, and the changes in Obinna were undeniable. His face, once round and bloated, had slimmed down, and the constant fatigue had given way to newfound energy. He still had to manage his diabetes carefully, monitoring his blood sugar levels and sticking to his diet. But for the first time in a long time, Obinna felt like he was in control. But it wasn't without challenges. There were moments when his blood sugar would spike unexpectedly, or when the temptation to return to his old ways was too strong to resist. He had setbacks. Days when he caved and ate something he shouldn't have, or when he skipped a workout. But every time he stumbled, Ada was there to support him, reminding him of how far he had come. One evening, after a long day at the market, Obinna sat on the veranda with Ada, watching the sunset. His hand rested on hers, and for the first time, he allowed himself to feel a sense of peace. "I'm proud of you, Obinna," Ada said softly. "You've come so far." Obinna smiled, the weight of the past months lifting from his shoulders. "I couldn't have done it without you." They sat in silence for a moment, the sounds of the evening birds filling the air. "I just wished I'd listened earlier," Obinna said, his voice tinged with regret. "Maybe things wouldn't have gotten this bad." Ada squeezed his hands. "What matters is that you are here now. You've changed, and that's what's important." Obinna's story soon spread through their community. People who once mocked him for his indulgent lifestyle now looked to him for advice. He became an advocate for health, warning others about the dangers of neglecting their bodies. He spoke openly about his struggle with diabetes, encouraging others to make changes before it was too late. He wasn't completely healed. Diabetes was a lifelong condition, but he had learned how to manage it and live fully. Through his journey, Obinna taught everyone around him that no matter how far down or dangerous path you may be, there is always a chance to turn back. Early symptoms of diabetes can include excessive thirst, frequent urination, fatigue, and unexplained weight loss. These symptoms should never be ignored. Maintaining healthier choices such as eating balanced diets and incorporating regular exercise into your life can prevent or manage diabetes. Remember, your health is your greatest wealth. If you have enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one.